Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass, and today we have a Life University chiropractic student connection. I'm super excited to connect with this individual. Can you just introduce yourself and share a little bit about what your background was before you came to chiropractic school, what your education was, or what your upbringing was like, where you grew up?
Okay, my name is Michele and I'm from Italy. And my background, I started studying electronics after high school, and I got my degree to be ready to work as an electrician. Then I said, I think I'm gonna decline all these or those job offers and study the human body because I like it. And I was, should I do medicine school? Should I do physio school? And I was young and I just wanted to do it faster. And doing 12 years of studying, nah, I'm gonna do physiotherapy school. It's actually harder to get into physiotherapy school in Italy than into medicine school because the numbers are more restricted. Somehow I did it. I studied biology by myself. And the background I received by studying circuits and learning how to program like robot arms gave me a problem solving mentality that other students didn't have. So when I was studying anatomy and neurology and physiology, I was already seeing as circuits integrating and complex systems instead of just memorizing terms and processes. And they gave me an edge on everything else. I think so. I'm so thankful for the mentality in those teachers. Sometimes I still think about them. Like, hey, I learned a lot from that. From that. So I went to physio school, and I liked it a lot in the beginning because it was so fascinating to learn about myself, learning about the human body. Oh, that's the way how I work. That's the way how I move. That's the way how I digest food, and it was really interesting. And halfway through my program, I kept hearing people talking bad about other professions. So yes, because physiotherapy is official and accredited, while other profession in Italy like chiropractic or osteopathy, they're not worth anything. We're the best, and like, let me. People don't even know what they're talking about. Let me do some research on it, because I like to understand things. And I discovered a thing called chiropractic, and the light turned on. Like, oh, chiropractic makes a lot of sense. And I started this double journey while I was discovering chiropractic, the principles of chiropractic online, while I was in a medical background school, and comparing the two perspectives. What I was learning in physio school with medical background and the chiropractic mentality approach. And I was comparing it. Okay, I'm studying neurology from that perspective and neurology from the other perspective. A muscle tissue disease from. And back in the day, I had a girlfriend. She was studying medicine. So I was going through chiropractic textbook online, physiotherapy textbook, and medicine textbook, and see how they were addressing the same problem from different perspectives. And nothing made more sense than chiropractic. And just going through the root of the problem, asking why the body, the physiology led to this process that we call disease, and understanding everything is actually adaptation. Disease is not a thing. Everything is adaptation, and your body, even if you're in pain and it's really, really something you're not appreciating in the moment, your body is truly doing the best it could do with the resources and the environment you are currently in. And our job as doctors, in the meaning of being teachers, is to educate the person and give the resources they don't have to reach a new level of well being. Because if you were sick, you wouldn't be able to adapt. And I, oh, wow, that makes so much sense. I was so naive back in the day because I had this newfound love for finding the truth behind the problems. And I went back to my school and sharing all my new ideas, my new understanding with the professor. And it was disheartening because I reached a wall every single time I was proposing a different angle. And hey, what if instead of just doing exercise for scoliosis, we figure out how to interact with the nervous system and remodulate the receptors in the spine? So the brain is going to perceive the spine differently and is going to rewire itself. And you fix the scoliosis because the scoliosis is not in the muscles or in the tissues, it comes from the way your nervous system is perceiving the balance of your body. And I was so excited back in the day, and I went, "Hey, we should do this instead." To the doctors, and they, "No, no, that's wrong. That's what we have done for 40 years, and you can't fix scoliosis. The only thing you have to do is to cast it, and we have 1% of improvement, and that's what we have." Like, oh, that was sad. That was really sad. I
Mm.
went through this emotional journey of being deluded, and just seeing the truth of the world we have around. And I had the chance to shadow and do my internship programs in actual hospitals and seeing what's going on inside those walls and how they approach problems with the gift of this newfound mentality and comparing and seeing what works, what doesn't work. And at the end of my program, on my third, fourth year, I had the chance to work on patients. And what I did, I applied the chiropractic principles to physiotherapy knowledge. And I had the best results in the room. Like all the patients, they were to my room instead of the doctor's room. So like, hey, maybe I'm doing something right. And then things start to click and to click and to click. And okay, I had to be a chiropractor because it's the right thing to do.
Mm.
And there
Mm.
was a day when I looked at myself in the mirror and knowing what I could be, what's possible, and what is currently done. And I think every man has to face himself and say, I have to do everything possible in order to be what I can be. Otherwise, I have to live with the regrets. And in 5 years, 10 years, how would I look at myself in the mirror saying, I could have done, I could have done it. I could have been greater. I could have served more. I could have bring more to myself and to the people around me.
Mm.
Or I chose the easy path, the convenient path, because it was there. It was easier.
Mhm.
Um, I just somehow, after a man set up his mind truly, the universe conspires to help you. But you have
Mm.
to be sincere in your intent. And crazy, improbable things happened and led me to actually somehow after 4 or 5 years of after I set my mind, being able to do it and being chiropractic school at university.
Mm. So you
And
practiced physical therapy for 5 years in Italy
now
before moving.
my journey, I discovered chiropractic 5 years ago. That's when I decided that I wanted to be a chiropractor. Halfway my program as a physiotherapist, then I got my degree. Then I work on people as a clinician by myself for 2.5 years, and I came here. So I had a lot of background actually working with people and applying it. So I was finding ways to apply the chiropractic principles without having the adjusting skills. And I still had a lot of wonderful results.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
had a lot of wonderful. Actually, people came to me to save to as last hope before surgery, or after a chronic pain that had no solution, and they got better, and they
Mhm.
were happy.
Mm.
So something
Interesting.
was going on.
Hmm. Yeah, something to share with you is my roommate in chiropractic school is Luca Palatini. He's from the base of the Dolomites, and his dad was the first chiropractor in Italy. He came from Italy
Wow.
as a medical doctor to study chiropractic. This was also his second degree. And
Mm.
yeah, anyway, just to let you know that we've got that international connection going on with He was out at Life West. That's where I went to school. But the purpose of this conversation is really to maybe speak to that individual yourself in high school, college, maybe even in physical therapy school or preparing for physical therapy school, and help differentiate. What is chiropractic? How is it different? What are the basic premises? Can you kind of keep elaborating, because you were on a roll there of talking about your personal journey and what you came to find and applying the physical therapy knowledge with chiropractic principles? Can you kind of just briefly also describe what you've come to understand about chiropractic a little bit deeper?
Okay, so what do you
Or,
want?
or better question, once you got to chiropractic school, what have you been attracted to? What are the directions that you've gone in, or been going deeper in as a student?
Okay, because chiropractic, actually, the chiropractic mindset led me to keep asking why, what's beyond, what's beyond, what's beyond, what's beyond, and that led me to an entire journey of discovering layers of understanding that I will never even conceived they were possible. So, okay, to answer to your first question, uh, is being a why doctor. It's, everything can be resumed in being a why doctor, and being a research in the sense of looking for something. And I think that somehow along the way of indoctrination, education, sorry, uh, education, people lost the ability to actually critical think, to critical think, and it's just you learn it and you apply the protocol without understanding why the protocol came to be. What's the reasoning why behind why we're doing what we're doing? And there is separation between the source and the byproduct. There is no appreciation of what went in through the process of having the byproduct, which can be a technique, a practice, or whatever. And taking a step back and asking, why does the body is reacting this way? What is this person? It's not just the body. What is this individual in front of me? What's going on in his life that led to be in this situation right now? How can I listen to it in a way that it needs to be understood? So, a metaphor I use with clients, with patients, was it's like having a really, really difficult woman to deal with, and you have to be able to understand what she's trying to say. And if you understand what she's trying to say, you can have a wonderful relationship, and she loves you so much. But if you don't listen, there is resentment and there is separation. Does it make sense?
Hmm.
And it's to
The
listen, listen,
listening is
listen, listen.
the first key.
But listening, I can listen to the birds, like right now. I can listen, I receive the information, but I have no means to make a meaning of the information. So the you also need the tools to interpret the information. So that's where the education comes from. Because I can listen, but I don't know what to do with information. Or I can listen and I have my vocabulary and how I know how to translate the signs and symptoms into a language that leads me back to leads me back to an hypothesis of what's probable going on in the body. And I test my hypothesis. I try my maneuver, my massage, my electrostimulation, my you just have your own tool belt. You try it, you see how the body is reacting, and you play again. And it's this constant feedback and communication. You do something, you listen, you do something else, until we are a system together. Me and you helping the whole. And that's fun. That's a lot of fun. And it's not just filling paperwork. So done, check. We've done 3 sessions of 10 exercises. And no, what do you need? And we're gonna do what you need. So that's what gave me. That's what I got from chiropractic. Apply to whatever tools you need. It's not the tool. It's the layer underneath the tool, the tools.
Mhm.
And keep asking questions. Let me. Oh, I want to know more about physiology, and my whole journey led me to understand more the energetic component of the human body and how to affect the structural physical portion of the body from an electromagnetic perspective. And studying and research, I discovered there is such a thing called biofield, which is actually emitted, and we are somehow emerging from the field. So we go down the rabbit hole of quantum physics and everything else, which is a lot of fun. And the relationship between the mind, the body, emotions, where emotional stores are stored, and how an emotional pattern is held into the body, postures, and how a physical trauma is held into an emotional pattern, and all the physiology leading to it. And I found this bridge between this more like ethereal world of mind and emotions and the more structural physical world of actually the human body. The layer, the bridge between those two worlds is the energy slash electricity and the neurology. Okay, so to explain it better, we have the mind, the emotion, all the mental sphere. We have the structural physical sphere, and they're connected through the neurology and through the electromagnetic field as an interface. That's the interface between the two worlds. And they're not separated, it's just a continuum. And then you can have fun, figure out how, okay, I can tickle the field here, and the body is changing this way. Or I can tickle the body here, and I measure a change in neurology or in the electromagnetic parameters on my skin. And there are tools. I specialize in a tool called Skinner from Russia. It's a handheld device that you place on the skin, and you can measure the voltage on the skin to measure what's going. You have basically a measure of what's the neurological component of the area and the electrical component of the area. And in my humble perspective, the missing piece is when you do a chiropractic adjustment, we cross our fingers and we leave it to the innate. So we know the body is going to heal itself. Of course, that's the way it is. But how can we influence the ability of the body to heal itself? Are there ways we can use to maximize the expression of the healing potential that we are unraveling with the chiropractic adjustment? Yes, we can just charge up the body with electricity. It's pretty easy. And oh, it makes so much sense. And I've done it, and it works. And just playing with patients, I had this device. I was measuring the voltage on each vertebra, and I had my chiropractic friend, my chiropractor friend, and he was accessing for a subluxation. And every time there was a subluxation, there was a distortion in the magnetic field. There was a area of low voltage or hyperactive voltage. Now, whoa, there is an energetic component, and it's measurable. I'm doing it. So you have the structural subluxation, the neurological component, and it's not over. You have the energo subluxation. And one of my dreams and visions is to bring that layer to chiropractic. That's how we can counteract the biomedical model. They have surgery and drugs, we have chiropractic, neurology, and energy. And now science and the technology is evolving at such a fast rate. We actually have the tools to play with it, to measure it, to photograph the energy before and after an adjustment. And it's a new field, but if we can merge it, we can just amplify what in the past the founders they said we are just allowing the energy to flow. And energy, speaking with people, is always this concept that is not really tangible. It can be tangible now. We have the means to measure it. There are tools we can use, every practitioner can have, taking a picture of the energy before and after, a visual picture, parameters, numbers. It's like you're measuring blood pressure. And whoa, think about what we could do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who are some of the influences globally that you've had as far as the research that you've been looking at on the technologies that have been developed to measure the energetic field to better understand and capture some metrics or take pictures? You mentioned one technology from Russia, I believe you said.
The
Um,
Russians are so far away compared to the rest of the world in this field. So sorry, I interrupt you.
no, this is the segue. Keep going is what I'm
Okay,
saying.
so the Russian research is so advanced in anything that is really limited in the West world because they just accepted there is an energetic component and they invested a lot of money and resources to develop it. And the I actually have it here. Let me pick it for you. So the first device I ever had, sorry, it's in my bag. Okay, perfect. It's here. A wonderful scanner. So it's a handheld device. Do you see it? Okay, cool Russian scriptures. And you have an electrode, and you place it on the skin. Oh, the camera. You place it on the skin, and there is really complex circuitry that I cannot explain. I know how to use. You measure the first contact with the skin, and there is a voltage. The voltage is a reflection of what's going on in the area and in the neurology connected to the area, and also all the layers beneath the skin and through the meridians, all the organs connected to the point. So you can treat an organ from the skin and recharge an organ from the meridians. And the meridians are actually they've discovered they're actually structures, and they're structures in the fascia of high conductivity. Those are channels where energy flows easier in the body, and they correspond with the planes where surgeons they prefer to cut through the fascia without damaging it. So, whoa, it's interesting. That's where the energy is actually flowing. And so you measure the energy on the skin, and it gives you a sound because it's emitting a biofeedback PMF. So it's listening to the body, sending a signal, listening to the body. The machine is interpreting the signal, giving it back in the right amount and frequency and quality that your body needs to absorb it, receive it, and use it as available energy to do cellular processes, to heal. And compared to any other electrotherapy, the energy in the cells after this one is increased and is all available and usable energy. And how is that different from electrical stimulation? Electrical stimulation is like hammering the nervous system and traumatizing it so you don't feel the pain with the gateway theory. This one has a feedback, a biofeedback. So it's listening and fine tuning for exactly what you need. The same way you're getting there and feeling how much you have to trust to have the sweet point to deliver the perfect adjustment. If you overdo it and you just hammer it, the body might not like it so much. If you don't do anything, you don't do anything. You have to find the right spot.
Hmm.
And it's a way to speak the same language of the nervous system because the waveform is calibrated to be neuro-like, the same waveform that is traveling to the nervous system. So it's another point of access for the chiropractor to access and communicate with the nervous system. So as a way, the way I consider chiropractic is also a receptor therapy. I'm playing with receptors, looking for a response that is going, hopefully, to lead me to an improved state of being. And that's the way I found how to interact with the nervous system without knowing how to adjust yet.
Mm, mm. What are some resources that you're finding are very valuable to you now that you're at this chiropractic college? What are the resources you find yourself continually exploring or interacting with as a chiropractic student there right now, given your background and your interest?
Well, I think I haven't finished to answer the first question because you asked me about other tools. Because I mentioned taking pictures. Um, there is another device I'm actually studying now. It's called BioWell, and it's from Russia again, and from Alexander Kortakov. Yes, and it's a gas discharge visualization device. Basically, it's the extreme evolution of Kirlian photography. And I don't know if you're familiar with Kirlian photography. Kirlian photography, basically, they measure the aura emitted from a living creature, like an animal, a leaf, and they do a high voltage discharge on the glass, and you can see the after effect of the aura and picture it. So they've done a lot of research and built a device that's called BioWell or GDV, gas discharge visualization. And you place your finger on a plate, they take a picture, and the aura, the halo around is pictured, and with thousands of studies with doctors, multiple doctors, they figure out how to find a correspondence between parameters in the picture of the halo and the level of energy in your organs. So it's a scan of your aura because due to the law of fractality, as above, so below. So if you study the little, you have a big picture. If you have the big picture, you have the small picture. And actually, I'm studying on getting a certification on it so I can have a testifiable, reliable scientific measure of the before and after.
Mm.
And I would like to do some research on, hey, let's have fun and do some adjustments and let's see how your energy field is affected to it from it. And that's a good one. There is another one. It's called what's the name? Biofield viewing technology. And well, I have some fun with those guys. Basically, you take pictures of the person, and it's a really complex filter that can calculate and measure the rebound of light from the skin. It gets filtered with a super complex program. Actually, the developer of the software was one of the developer for the graphic processors for iPhones and Apples. So he's like a smart guy. And you basically have this picture of the aura, and you actually see if you have heart problems or if you have surgery, if you have anything going on in your body, you see the venting and the leaking of the energy from your body or areas of density and changing colors, and you can learn how to interpret that, and it's a picture for the patient. That's for visualization. There are other tools. There is another girl, Ellie McCusick. She's good with biofield tuning. So basically, she spent her life playing with tuning forks, and she discovered that she can drag the tuning forks through the biofield, and the biofield is basically built with layers. and those layers tell your history. So your emotions and your mind is stored not in your head, but is in this biofield. So your mind is non-local, but somehow you carry your mind away, or
Mm.
you are created by your biofield. Okay, it's a whole rabbit hole. It's a lot of fun. And with those tuning forks, she goes through it. You can actually feel the changing sound where a person has a traumatic memory because they go from now to the date of birth. So if you're 60 years old, you go half the way through your biofield, and that's your 30s. And if you had a divorce of 30s, it's there. You can tune it with a tuning fork, and you hear the changing sound, and you have an emotional release. And if you had like a bad shoulder pain, the shoulder pain goes away because it was connected somehow with the emotion that was stored in the biofield that was out of your body. And that's what's going on. That's crazy, but it's not. That's what the ancient always knew, and what everybody somehow knows, but it's hard to accept.
Mm.
Um, why tuning forks? Because there is no separation in the electromagnetic spectrum. So sounds and light and electromagnetic fields and structural matter are all the same thing, just vibrating at different frequencies. And we separate light from sound because of the nature of our biology. Our receptors are different, so we think that sounds and light are different things. They're not. And we are producing light, we are emitting light, biophotons. There is a lot of research on it. Gerard Pollack. And so we're also producing sounds, like we are vibrating. That makes sense. It's duh, of course. So there is so much to explore, and the medical field is not ready and willing to accept all of this. The chiropractic field is a good nest for all of this advancement in the research. And I dream about a world where we actually go around and we teach people, hey, adjust each other and feel your energy and all the stuff. It's, it's in our hardware. We just don't have the software to unlock the hardware. We just need an upgrade of the system, of the software, but it's there. It's there. And the time is
How
already.
can we produce more people with your level of thinking? Or maybe you can do a description on how you approach research, what you look at, the details, how a student who's in college or high school can start to wrap their head around how do you research a topic? How do you find information and deconstruct the information and then start to connect one piece of information to another and start to formulate questions and then start to look at all these different questions that you're formulating based on the information that you're exposing yourself to. I'm curious what your personal process is when you find a topic that you want to research, where you go, how long do you spend, how many hours it could take when you talk about going down a rabbit hole, and then also how you relate your experiences at these different seminars or learning about these different tools, how you connect those to research you've already exposed yourself to and have in your tool bag.
Oh, so that's a wonderful question. That's a wonderful question. Thank you. And the short answer is that I'm a maniac in a good way. So I really think that anyone really great in something in history was truly, genuinely obsessed about the thing they were great at. And in our culture, we keep saying, yeah, you shouldn't be obsessed. Like, obsession is a bad thing. It's love. It's truly love. I love to do it. I wake up in the morning. As soon as I wake up, I have an interview going on. I have a YouTube video. I have a course. I have a lecture. I have something going on in my mind constantly. So my mind is unconsciously processing everything constantly and connecting. And it's not just about doing research. And reading about it, listening about it is investing about it and doing it and having the tool and playing with it and experiencing yourself. I'm a firm believer of the primacy of experience. It's not just blah 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 blah. Okay, we blah 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 a lot. Now we do it and we play with it, and we get it wrong, and we get it wrong. Oh, and I got it right, and now you know how to get it right almost all the times until you get it wrong again, and that's the fun of it, because you have to figure it out, and you have to go back home and do more research. And oh, the other day, I heard about the interview, and she mentioned about the thing. But now in your life, you have the need for it because you need to solve a problem. That's how we learn. Our mind is rooted to problem solving. So if you're actively looking for solutions, you don't have to study. You don't have to memorize. You know, because your your neurology is tuned to look for it in your environment. It's like, I'm hungry. The what's the portion of the brain? The I don't remember that. Whatever. There is a portion of your brain that activates and makes you look for food or makes you look for a mate. Or, oh, I need to fix this problem, and you're going to look for the answer. So the education system is getting all in reverse. You learn stuff, you don't know what to use, how to use, and how I'm gonna use this, and then you have to learn how to fix problems. If I put you on a spot where, okay, you have to fix this problem, and you have to find whatever way, you just have to fix it. You'll find whatever way. And sometimes those ways are unconventional, which is often good. Like Elon Musk, he found an unconventional way to build cars, and it's good.
Mhm.
and and that mindset came from a lot of struggle in my life. Actually, the need to I have to figure it out, otherwise I'm or having a patient that is putting their trust into you, and if you say, I can help you, or I will do anything I can to help you, you have to go back home, spend a week awake, and find it, and you go back to them and you try, and if it works, you did it, and you're gonna remember it for the rest of your life. It's not about studying on books. I have so many books. I spent all my money on courses. I spent all my money on material to learn. But that came from the need for new answers. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did it. You did it. You touched on a different aspect of it, which is the human consciousness and psyche, and what drives you, motivates you to do the research, and what's really embedded in your psyche that helps you be a researcher. I mean, that's how you have a thirst for knowledge. You want to seek out and find connections between information every single day. And naturally, you're going to find the resources if you keep that intention clear in the front of your mind. Um, just to give you a little background on this project, I believe that if we were to introduce a new chiropractic school in Italy in a new language, that we would need to construct a framework to contextualize what chiropractic is, and then also deliver a pathway that is big enough that will allow students to get introduced to the practice, start to build skills themselves relevant to the practice, start to experience and play with how to do the practice, and then start to share that practice with communities that are not familiar but might have alignment of values. And that is kind of what I'm constructing so that it can be translatable to many languages. I'm calling it pre-Chiro because it's kind of like pre-med or pre-physical therapy. It's before you go to school. What are
Hmm.
the basics? What do you need to do to really get the most out of school when you get there? And I feel like your experience of going to physical therapy school before coming to chiropractic school is kind of what my hope is, that every student coming into school has all this experience, has all this exposure, so that you can make school more meaningful to you. You can start to think beyond the curriculum and how can I make this curriculum useful for my future practice? Because you've already got a vision. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. I will be down for it. Like, yeah, let's do it. It
That's what
has
we're
to
doing
happen.
here. This information you're sharing is kind of helping give us insight into the mind of a chiropractic student and show us how impassioned you are of the sciences and also the energetics of the sciences of the energetics. And it's very helpful. I love the passion that I hear from you, and I just want to ask the right questions so that I can continue to tease it out of you. But I'm
Hmm.
curious, um, what what do you say back to me after I just shared all that with you? Kind of, if we're going to introduce this profession to countries in more formal ways, like you said, in Italy, chiropractic's not really regulated. It's not acknowledged as
Hmm.
a profession that is as deep as it truly is in reality. How do we establish it in a country like Italy? Or what do we need to do? What's the level that we need to take it to for it to rightfully be acknowledged as a legitimate and amazing profession?
I still, so I always have a short answer and then like ramble it down. So to answer you in a sentence, we need a revolution. We need a real one. Do you get me? And on a practical, how do we do that? So we are facing interesting times. We are facing. Okay, I like to think in fractals and in patterns, which also a way like I do research. I connect things non-linearly. My mind is non-linear. I really struggle to write because it's linear. And if you study a cell what happens? Grows, gathers nutrients, evolves, and then reach a point where it can't grow anymore because due to the surface, the cell membrane, and the ratio to the surface and internal area, it just can't grow anymore. So it has two options. What are those two options? To die or to split. Now what happened? We had multiple communities merging together and we had the global society. And we grew to a certain point where the cell has to collapse or split. And what happens when you observe a cell under a microscope and it's ready to split? It's shaking a lot. We are in a stage where we are shaking a lot, okay? And it's a really crucial moment in the history of humanity. There are prophecies talking about it, like, hey, humanity is going to lead to, to reach a point where we split and reach a new point of evolution, or we just collapse. And we are really, truly living at the end of times. And it's our responsibility. If you believe in something like a soul or soul path or whatever, we are placed on this planet right now because we have something to accomplish. And I'm feeling this. I'm so young, but I feel the heavy and the weight on it, the responsibility on my shoulders that we have to. And it's my generation more than anything else. It's my generation because we're just on the verge of seeing the 90s and the new century and having a confrontation between those two. And so it can go in a really wonderful, amazing way, or it can go really bad. So that's the first point. How do we make it go in a really amazing, wonderful way? We already have all the resources, all the knowledge, all the money, all the people. We have everything we need to live in peace, to fight all the diseases. Most of the diseases are not diseases, they're adaptations. And okay, I don't want to say things that might be controversial, but there is a cure for everything, and it's out there. What we need to do is to connect all the dots, gather all the resources together, and have a strong leadership and decide it. Now it's enough. We say no. We don't want it the way. We are gonna do it another way. A way that makes sense. A way that doesn't lead to destruction at the end. And then we do the work. But it's there. So the technology to go to the moon was already there. They didn't invent all the technology in 10 years. They just gather it, put a strong effort into make it happen, and they did it. We have to do the same thing. And it's happening. But the strong effort is toward the opposite, is toward destruction. We need a new economic system. We need a new politics. Do we even need politics? We need a new educational system. We need to revolt everything upside down. Everything is wrong. Okay, everything has become the opposite of what it was supposed to mean. Universities, they were the pinnacle of instruction, of education. You went there to free your mind because knowledge is the tool you have you that gives you freedom and power. Now people that go to the universities are even dumber than people that don't go to universities. Like you get stupid if you go to the university, and I've done multiple universities. Don't have don't let your schooling interfere with education. If you're whatever, anyways, you got me. And we need a revolution, really, 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 and it can be done. It's there in the field. We have the need. This moment of crisis, a lot of people that hey, we need to make something different. We are reaching together. I'm here. I had my entire life experience. And let me to have this conversation with you right now because it wasn't meant to be. And you had all your experience to have this conversation with me right now because it was meant to be. And we can just stumble to each other or do something together. Or you know that there is a crazy guy like me around, and I know there is a crazy guy like you around interviewing people because you want to build something. And maybe in the future we can actually build a school in Italy or whatever in the world. And how to answer your question? It's a good question. Uh, Back in the day when I was in my school in Italy, I was so frustrated and I wanted to change the world. I wanted to change those souls. And then I realized that that's not the right way. That's not the way it's supposed to be. It's, let them go. They will eventually self-destruct. At the same time, build your own world independent from that. So eventually, people that are unaware will be aware there is another choice, and they will answer for themselves what choice do you want, and they will come on our side. Because it's duh, of course. Of course, I prefer to be healthy instead of being in a constant state of alive enough just to work and pay taxes, but dead enough so that I have no creativity and happiness in my life. And I was in the bathtub one day and I had this idea. So I was reading about parasites and how the parasite they take over a host and how they actually can manipulate the mind of the host, inducing the host to do behaviors they will never do, but they do it because it's been advantageous for the parasite itself. For example, there's like a mushroom that takes over the brain or some kind of ants, and lead the ants to climb on top of like a tree, and the ants die by dehydration and like gets cooked by the sun. But actually, it's more advantageous for the mushroom, so you can spread the spores. And would an ant do it if she wasn't possessed by the greed of the mushroom? No. Is an ant still an ant if her consciousness has been taken over by the parasite? And fractality. Would people do the same thing they're doing right now if they were free? Is there a parasite? It might be in physical nature. I don't know. It might be or in on another level. Probable. And because if you genuinely stop and think, if you have love in your heart, would you would you start wars? Would you approve a law for abortion after a kid is born? Would you go around and induce a famine crisis? Would you go around and force medical care on people, which is not actually meant to care about people? That's not human. And it makes me comfortable to think that's not human, like it's something else. And if you have a parasite, you have to kill the parasite and get rid of it. Get rid of it. Otherwise, you're just gonna climb on the top of the tree and let yourself die.
Mm.
That's what's going on.
One thing I want to share is I often think of proprioception, positive body signals, nociception, negative body signals, and we have this flood of negative body signals, and we need to just
Oh, okay,
add
sorry,
more and
sorry.
more proprioception to balance out the system. And there's many ways where I think adding pre-chiro, adding a chiropractic school, adding new outlets and resources and building bridges is the way to sort of add these positive outlets that you speak about that are necessary in order to kill the parasite. And then in chiropractic, we talk about removal of obstructions, removing the barriers, removing the blind spots, removing these limiting beliefs, removing these truths that are permeating through society but are not necessarily helping people be human. So,
I got it. Okay, yeah, I ramble a lot, but okay. And to remove the parasite, so parasites they can thrive in a low oxygen environment. Okay, so oxygen in the body gets lower when you have low voltage. Okay, so if for whatever reason your energy is low, the perfusion of oxygen is lower, so it's easier for parasites to take over. So what do you need to do? You need to increase the energy of the host, so you create an not pleasant environment for the parasite. And it's not about killing the parasite. It's about once again elevating ourselves, giving more energy to ourselves, so the parasite has no other chance than just go away. How do we do that? We build another world. We build those bridges. We build our system, so people have the choice to elevate themselves. And it's not an environment anymore for parasites. They're not welcome anymore. They have no way to attach. So we have to build them, those infrastructures, and educate people and let them know there is hope. There is something else out there. There is something else. And it works.
I
And there is an
appreciate
extreme need
your
for that.
depth. Hmm?
There is an extreme need for that. Lives of people depend on us. Because if you know something, now you're responsible of it. And once again, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. What kind of man are you? Like, hey, I've been gifted with the gift of knowledge. It's power. How am I going to use this power? I'm just going to keep it for myself and just, oh, I know auto stuff. Look at me, I have all these degrees. Oh, well, hey, let's do something. Let's have fun and play.
Yeah, no, the bigger the vision, the bigger the life. So I just feel as though with the amount of experience, life experience you have, the environment that you're in right now, you, the organism, has a lot to share as far as wisdom and insight that somebody who's maybe going to enter that environment can learn a lot from an organism who's thriving within that environment, who's finding ways to make connections that are quite frankly really important connections for our humanity and our society. And that's going to be the thing I believe that attracts the next generation towards what you represent and who you are being in this moment. No?
Yes, yes,
So
it has to be.
I appreciate your time. So thank you.
Oh, thank
Any
you. It was a
final
lot of fun.
messages that you would like to share? This is just a platform for you to kind of share your who you are, you know?
A final message? Okay. Dare to extend yourself and reach beyond, and just pick a rock and prove to yourself you can carry it, and then pick a bigger one, and then hey, maybe I can build a little nest, and then we can build a castle. We can build an entire society.